Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ancestry Unpacked, April 2026.
Hi, everyone. It's great to have you here with us.
That's Fiona Brooker, and I'm Michelle Patient, and we together are talking family history. And what we want to talk about tonight is some new things at Ancestry. I'm sure many of you watched Roots Tech last month, last month. It's April already, good heavens. And one of the things that struck me was the 10 million records being added, not once a month, not every now and then, but actually every day. And how are we going to keep up with that? So what I've done is I've picked a data set which will apply in other countries as well. So yes, I'm going to use an Australian example, but it is applicable to you around the world. So let's dive into how to find some of the latest records that have been updated and then drill into how they can benefit you no matter where you are on the planet. So under the card catalogue, and I hope you all know exactly where the card catalogue is, you press search at the top right and go down the screen and you'll see the words. And the Barefoot Genealogist has been telling us this for years and years, so I hope you have all been listening. If you head to the card catalogue, and because I was using the .com.au site, I've got the only records in Australia ticked. You can change that by turning it off and filter it to a location, but you can also do it from your site and you'll see .uk, for instance. So don't be put off by the fact that I'm going to show you some Aussie records. The key thing is how to find things that have been recently updated. And you might not notice there's a drop-down menu on the top right by the sort by, and one of the options is date updated. So instead of seeing whatever's recently appeared, if you choose that date updated, you're going to see a new order on this list. Globally, Ancestry updates their find a grave indexes, their newspaper indexes, their obituary indexes, their marriage indexes from newspapers, their cemetery indexes. Some of those are done monthly, some of those are done quarterly, and some of them more varying in their frequency. But right down the next line, you can see the first actually standalone data set that we might not commonly get in our hints is this wills and probate database. And there's well over 1 million records there to check out. If I clicked on that data set, this is what I'll get. And like most of you, the first thing we do is stick a name in the surname. I bet most of you do that. So let me do it. I'm going to just stick in Uther. It's my really commonly unusual surname in our family. And for those of you that are eagle-eyed, you might see that there's a handful of them and some of them are there more than once. But let's make sure we check the whole screen. What we should have done first is clicked this area that says more and read the whole information. Now that's taken me back to the search query screen that I was familiar with, but I bet you didn't scroll down to understand the data set before you started to use it. That is my biggest tip this session. Go and have a good look and scroll down. Don't stop at the first part of the screen. Keep scrolling so you can understand what's in this data set, because there are date ranges with different requirements or different accessibility. And the really neat thing here is the reason you have two sets in some of these people is it's not just the will, it may also be the probate. So how are you going to find that out? Well, here are my youthers again, and I'm going to use Janet because she's at the top of the list, not because I'm more closely related to her. I'm actually more closely related to Walter. Janice married into the family, and if I hover my mouse over view record, I can see that this is a will. If I go further down that data set and hover my mouse, I can see this is a probate packet. So now I know that I have two different types of records. If I'm looking into probate packets, I might want to end up looking into the finer details of how much they paid with tax and so forth. Whereas if I'm looking at the will, I might want to know, who did she say she was leaving this to? Does she mention how they're related to her? What other interesting information did she provide at the time she was making the will, who were her witnesses, who were executors. So there's lots of genealogy info in both documents, one more court-based and one more personal-based. I please encourage you to go and properly look at both wherever they are accessible. But back to that first screen again. What else did I miss out on here? Well, for those of you who aren't fully aware of Australian states and borders, New South Wales is a death place, or NSW, or Blackrock. All of those places aren't necessarily inside Victoria. Victoria is the second state that was formed. It's south of New South Wales. But why are these people in both? Well, I can tell you from my research that they either lived a period of time in the state of Victoria or they owned property in the state of Victoria at the time of their death. And it can be both things that have required the probate packets to be also vetted in the Victorian courts, and thanks to the relationship that Ancestry has with the Public Record Office, the PRO, in Victoria, we have digital access where digital processes have occurred. And these are ongoing and updating. My dad was born in England, so my world doesn't revolve around Australia and New Zealand. Half of my research, from the beginning of my research, was actually up over. What would happen if I put the word England into this same data set? How many people with reasons to need to be probated within the courts of Victoria died in England? Well, if I just put the word England, I get 9,251. What about if I used United Kingdom? 132. And if I used Ireland, 980. Or if I use Scotland, this one's for you, Fee, 1,976. I have no Scottish research. It's a bit of an in-joke.
I have to say, Michelle, as you were jumping through those, I'm thinking about how different people have recorded the places so differently that you need to put in all the variations of a country's name potentially.
And like always, you know exactly where I'm going. We often don't pre-prepare together, so it's interesting that you're about to get right there. So in terms of Scotland, if I decided to do one with Scotland and added United Kingdom, and you'll see it said I had 31,841 results. And I thought that was a bit odd. And then I noticed the broad. And so I turned it to exact, and I scrolled down first, right? Read the whole screen, scroll down. I got through to page 100,900. So it was page 30, whatever that was. And when I scrolled down on this page, which was looking at that last set of nearly 2,000 records, I went from Scotland to St Kilda, which is a place in multiple countries, and Clunes, which is a place in multiple countries. But I can tell you, those ones down there are mostly in Australia. And so be mindful that for some locations, you're going to have to be quite creative in how you narrow down your search to your country. So the other one was Wales. And Wales is challenging because it's in New South Wales, and sometimes it's not NSW, it's New South Wales. Now, legally, we were meant to always put NSW at a certain time frame with the law, but then it changed and people wrote the whole thing in the same way that file names used to be 8.3, and we can only ever use 8 letters to name our files, and the world has changed, but that is a digression. That's the computer geek in me. So to find Wales out, it really wasn't 3,000, 2,500. I'm no good with numbers either, team. But if I narrowed it down to it being exact, and you'll see over here, I just slid the sidebar over. With this particular search query, I only have the choice of broad and exact. I don't have any sliding for average or a shorter range. I literally only have the two extremes. So I need to be quite mindful that Wales doesn't always have UK at the end. So some of them I need to look at differently. So there's a variety of ways to play with that refining search tool on the left of the screen. But wait, there's more. Most of us actually have relatives all over the world, English-speaking world. There's 182 people who died in Canada. There's 4,638 that died in New Zealand. And again, notice I used the broad search, which is a good thing because they've used uppercase N, lowercase z. They've used just N and New Zealand. So just note that there's a range again here of death places. Might be relative to time, but it also might be relative to how the person created the original. And we don't have every time frame digitized to go and verify that, but at least we're getting clues of where to go to look for things next. I never want to forget the USA. There might be lots of you out there, but there's 562 people that had some property or some connection to Victoria who died in the US of A. And in this case, I only used U and S. I didn't even put in the A. So to have a look at some other aspects of it, I went to that Wales set and I just picked on the first one and I thought, how does this help us? And interestingly, those AI tools that are being more and more used across wider parts of the website, they give us suggested records on the right-hand side. If you haven't investigated those before, don't turn your mind off to those. They are hints, not facts. I would have to do my due diligence to make sure the one that's recorded here is the same as the one in the probate packet, but it doesn't stop me from having a good look at those suggested records. Just remember, they're hints, not necessarily facts regarding particularly people with similar names like this. There will be many Arthur John Bakers on the planet. Hopefully not too many who were drivers who lived in that part of Wales. And to then look at my family again, this lovely Janet who married in and started a family of lawyers in the family, I have to say. This is her, it was a big thing in our family. You can see she's got lots of suggested records, but what most of us do is click here. And once we've clicked here, we get this lovely screen that looks like this. And I must say, because I've been watching a lot of videos about the new AI and the transcriptions, I went looking for the tool so I could transcribe this thing instead of having to do it myself. And it was a little bit disappointing that I couldn't readily see it on the screen. But wait, there's more, as with many things with our computers. So apart from the usual arrows to move left and right through the document, I can use the pagination if it's got hundreds of pages. Over here, I didn't read the whole screen first before I went willy-nilly clicking. Some of you may have noticed a new section here in this record set. This is one of those sets that has had the AI experience applied to it. And now if I click where it says read the full transcription, you'll see that Ancestry has just transcribed this document for me. You can see the transcription in the top. You can see that I have arrows so I can go to the next pages and I can check the whole thing out. So whether you live anywhere on the planet or you are from Australia and even Victoria and you've got access to these records, really do have a dive into these recently updated wills and probate packets, because that could be just where your family are that you haven't been able to find.
So one of the other things they were talking a lot about at Roots Tech was the use of AI, and one of the tools that Ancestry has put onto their website as well is the document transcription tool. And we've talked a little bit about that already. So I thought I'm going to try this, and I've done it with screenshots. We'll see if we have time to do it via live, but we'll start with a screenshot. So I'm going to add a document to Cornelia Dan. She is in my McGregor Wright tree. It's a public tree, so you can go on and have a look at this if you want to go and find this document later on. So I'm on her profile page, and what I can do is just go to the gallery. And once I am on the gallery, then I have the ability to add media. So there's a little button that says add media. It says this is what you can add into somebody's gallery, and it gives you lots of different file types that you can add. You can add GIFs and JPEGs and PNG files and TIFFs and text and PDF. There is a lot of types of files that you can put in here. For the task that I'm doing and that I want to use the document transcription system, I can only upload a JPEG or a PNG file. Just to be upfront with that at the moment. It may change, as all things change with AI. So just like you would normally do, I have already scanned my document. It does have a reasonably good title in it, in that the document's already been called Dan Cornelia. This is her 1872 New Zealand birth certificate. This is a copy of it. It's not, it's one that was produced later on in her life. So it's not the original. It's when somebody like us as genealogists has gone along to get a copy of it. I've put in a category. It's a document certificate. I've given it the date of the original entry, location where it happened, and a short description into the description box. And there's just one little thing I wanted to show you about that description box, because it's really short when you're starting to type things in, is that down in the little bottom corner of that, you have a little sort of diagonal lines. Anytime you see those diagonal lines, you can actually drag those boxes and make them bigger. So you can actually see more lines in the screen at the time when you're typing in, which can make it a lot easier to remember how you started typing something and how you want to finish it. So uploaded it just the normal way, pushed save, pushed done at the top of the screen, and it appears in my gallery. Now, because of the type of the document, you'll see it's also popped up with a nice little box that says, transcribe this. I can automatically change handwritten notes and letters into easy to read text. Now, I'm pushing it a little bit this time because this isn't handwritten. This is actually a typed document in columns. So I wanted to try this to see how it dealt with this in comparison to dealing with, as they put in a lot of the videos and things when they discussed this originally, journals, diaries, that sort of thing. So here we go. Now you push the button and it flicks up this little thing. And what I wanted to highlight, and I was so glad I managed to grab this to you, this is in beta. That means it could change as more people give it feedback about how it's working for them, as it gets used by different people doing different things. Ancestry will be learning about the ways that we like to use it, what sort of documents we're uploading, how the system is coping with the documents, what it's doing with them, etc. So over time, this may tweak and may change a little bit. But at the moment, let's see how it's gone. So I have now got an image transcription sitting beside my image. Now that makes it really easy to be able to start and do some comparisons between the two of them. So let's have a look at this and see what I sort of thought. Up the top, this whole section, now this is just the, this is a certified copy of a birth certificate, etc. Didn't get transcribed at all. Now this may be part of that whole, hey, that's not handwriting, that's a printed form. So there is a little bit of that floating amongst all of what this may or may not have been trained to do and trained to transcribe. But that's okay. I can cope with that not being there. And if someone's looking at this and you're looking at it closely and going, what's that $6 up in the top corner? Well, that's how much I paid the secondhand shop to get this certificate. That's not how much you pay for a New Zealand birth certificate. So let's zoom in a little bit. And the great thing is you've got the image controls on the left-hand side. Now, I found this quite interesting. It goes sex. The columns go sex, name and surname of father, name and maiden surname of mother, rank or profession of father. The transcription, on the other hand, goes sex, name and maiden surname of the father, rank or profession of the father. So it's got a little bit confused about the column headings in there. Again, I think this is something that will get better over time. And again, I'm in a table rather than a document as such with lines going down the page. But following on from that, this is how the order it sort of transcribed the columns in to an extent. So it got the female, that was good. Then it went Charles George Dan, excellent. Then it said he was a hotel keeper. And then it went back and said Celia Dan, formerly Robards, in the transcription. So it's interesting to see how it's coping with that as well. Am I unhappy? No, the detail is there. It makes it searchable if someone else wants to come along and search it. And if I'm going to go and edit this, at least it's all typed up for me. The next line goes, Mother Christchurch, and it was really interesting because I sort of had to go and look for where it had found this, but it was because Celia was the informant on this certificate. So this is picking up this next column and sort of adding it to the previous column, which is sort of right and sort of wrong if it's a straight transcription. So again, not too unhappy. Down the bottom, the certificate was issued on the 3rd of July 1936. Interesting in the document on its own is that this was originally a page that was printed for the 1920s, and they are still using the copies in the 1930s to actually transcribe certificates on. So very frugal government departments at this time. But interesting, when they've transcribed it with the AI tool, it's given me July 1926. So whether it's picking up more of the typewritten and putting that in than it is of the other, I don't know. You'll see the little signature off to the side there. It skipped that altogether, but it did pick up all the sort of bit at the bottom about fees payable and ordinary copies and things like that. Now, because we are training this, because we want this to get better, we can give feedback on whether it was poor transcription, whether it was an okay transcription, or whether it was a good transcription. I went with an okay. It's sort of good, sort of not. So I thought middle of the road was pretty good. Now, the other thing that comes with this, though, is when I come back to the image and I'm looking at it again, I can actually see and talk to the AI tool. And you click on this little button here, and it gives you the ability to listen to their story. Now, the problem about not being live is I can't really easily play the video for you. But what I found is it adds the details from this, and it adds some of the information about Christchurch at the time, because this one happened to be registered in Christchurch. But the really good thing is, even though I can't have you listen to it, if I click the 3 dots in the top right-hand corner, I can actually get the transcript of what the AI tool narrated about this document. So it says things about, it opens a window into another time and another life. We're in Christchurch on Colombo Street North in 1872, etc. So you do get what I would call the AI fanciful speak, sort of floating around the facts of the document. It gives you some insights into perhaps things that you might not have thought about. In this case, it picked up on the fact that this was an 1872 certificate. Unfortunately, although the original transcription had gone 1926, by the time it did this version, it did 1947. So I don't know where it got the 1947 at all out of this. But what that did say to me is that when the AI, this particular AI tool has done it, it has done it separately to the AI transcription. So it's reread the document to actually write this, from what I can sort of work out from what it's probably doing.
B, I can suggest that in the very top right-hand corner of that document is the registration number, and it looks a little like 1947. That's what I would.
There you go.
That's what I would wonder, is if it's searched and thought that looked like a date.
Absolutely, that could well be it. Good pick, Michelle. So this is really interesting, because the other thing that I found with this is these don't seem to get saved. So the next time I went in and I did this again, I got a different sort of version of the story. Sort of some similar bits, but some quite different bits as well. So it's quite interesting to see how this does it each time. Now, the great thing is, if you really liked what it said, you can actually just sort of copy that text and go and put it into your Word document that you're starting to write things up in. So you do have that ability to get that text. But again, scroll down and you get a few more things. There's information about, if I clicked on this one about birth registration in New Zealand, it will go off and do like a AI search and give you information about the background to birth registrations, etc. So quite good to have that. And what I'm hoping that that will mean in the future is it starts to give you hints about where else to go and do your research as well, and where that may take you. So I think over time, this is just going to get better and better and better, and will make such a change to what we're doing, because these documents, especially if we're adding them to our trees, can only get better. However, now I've actually got to do something with it, and I just wanted to follow that up, because getting it transcribed is great. Having it there in the gallery, wonderful, but you've got to do something with it. So I just wanted to remind you that basically now I can go and attach that gallery entry to Cornelia's birth. So I can go in, I can click on the little plus key. The little plus key will then move it up to make it media attached to the birth. I can make sure that my piece now about her birth has her actual date, because I've got a birth certificate. You'll notice there I've also put that this is from the Department of Internal Affairs, and we checked out the copyright and it says it's Creative Commons, so I'm okay to upload the image into my gallery at Ancestry. So checked all that out before I did these uploads.
Yeah, because not every country allows us to do that.
No, absolutely not. And so we want to make sure that what we're putting up there is permitted. But the other thing to remember as well is Cornelia wasn't the only person mentioned in that document. Her father was as well. Her mother was. So I can go and add details to them as well. So I can add in his occupation, for example. And what I tend to do is not upload it to his gallery as well. I've just referenced it that it's the birth certificate of his daughter is where I got that information from. It's already dated, it's already got the place, etc. And the same with the place where she was born. I've put a little note to say, you know, this is possibly where he was residing. Something to go and look at. So this is now going to be your opportunity to go off and have a go at trying that. And a couple of things that I just wanted to update you on, make sure you had that all in your head, is it can be used on a desktop, it can be used on a mobile website, and it can be used on the app. So you can do it on all the different places that you might be accessing the Ancestry tools and the Ancestry website. Your scans, as I said earlier, have to be either a JPEG or a PNG. You can't do PDFs at the moment. That will come, I'm sure, over time, but let's start with just one-page documents instead of multi-page documents. Your documents have got to be attached to a public family tree. So you can't make them just attached to a private tree to use these. I'm hoping that what that will mean over time is that because I have put that there, other people can find that document, but hopefully those transcriptions will start to end up being searchable as well, because you never know when your ancestor may turn up in a probate document or something like that. The documents can obviously be handwritten. This was typed, but it was good to try it. And also it supports documents in a range of different languages. So although it does not transcribe those and translate those, it transcribes them. Okay, so you're still, if it's the document is in German, the transcription is going to be in German. It's not a translation. So just be aware of that as well. So absolutely go off and have a go. Try uploading some documents and feel free to give us your feedback and let us know how you found it working. The Ancestry Unpacked series is proudly supported by ancestry.com.au.
Be sure to subscribe to the Talking Family History YouTube channel for more content like this.
Thanks for watching this month's webinar.
We're Michelle and Fiona. We hope to see you again next time.